Okay, before I even start today's video, let me make it clear that a lot of these races would be hard to make or could even break the game if they were added. With that ominous warning out of the way, let's get right into the video. So One Piece has a lot of diverse character races, ranging from humans all the way to things like fishmen and dwarfs. As of update 3.5, Grand Peace Online has fishmen, humans, Skypians, and minks as playable races. I'm honestly okay with this, and I don't think they need to add any more. However, for the sake of today's video, let's discuss some potential races that could be added to Grand Peace Online. Okay, so the first race that I'd like to see added would be the Giants. So Giants are pretty prevalent in the One Piece story, and we are introduced to them fairly early on in the Little Garden arc. Giants are overall just what you'd think they would be, huge people effectively. When it comes to incorporating them into the game though, as a playable race, I think they would have to have a larger hitbox. This hitbox would probably be much bigger than the standard human hitbox and would act as a downside for the race. Some positives that I could think of adding for Giants were longer reach, a base health increase, a higher jump to match their overall size, and finally some sort of increased base M1 damage to reflect the considerable strength increase that would come with being a giant. The second race that I'm going to talk about is one that is very similar to a race that's already in the game. The race in question is the Merfolk race. This is of course very similar to fishmen, with the main difference being that Merfolk have a tail instead of the usual human looking legs. I think a fair strength of the Merfolk could be an increased swimming speed, much faster than the usual fishmen because of their tail. Merfolk would also have an obvious underwater breathing boost, I think, but I think this would have to match the fisherman one and wouldn't probably be too much more than it. I would probably be even equal to it, I think. Merfolk also had their own fighting style called Merman Gyujutsu. This fighting style is primarily based around the use of the trident weapon and occasionally swords. I think of the three like merman royalty guys, you have the trident guy, the two sword merman guy, and then the singular sword merman guy. And I think that's like the main people who use the fighting style. But the idea, some of the blue hair, he's the guy who uses the trident, and he has like his own moves which could be incorporated into GPO. This fighting style would probably be limited to just the trident in GPO, but I could see it being a similar fighting style to one sword style, where it kind of works with the trident to give you more moves. The Merfolk model is already made, and we've seen that in the Neptune boss, but it would be interesting to see if it was available for players too. I also want to mention the long arm and long leg races of One Piece, but both of these are primarily pretty self-explanatory, so I'll just summarize. Long leg, faster walking speed, increased height and jump, and long arm, just longer reach. The final race from One Piece that I want to mention is the Dwarf race that was showcased in Dressrosa. Dwarfs are small creatures that are incredibly strong and fast despite their size, and I think in GPO the Dwarf race would probably have to be a really small avatar, maybe a similar size to the bunnies. I'd also like to see the Dwarf players have an increase of speed and a much higher jump. Of course, this jump would be relative to their size, of course, and they would have a smaller hitbox too, obviously, because they're smaller models. But this would be balanced because they would also have a decreased reach and smaller AoE when it comes to attacks. So for example, a Hiken from a Dwarf player would be considerably smaller than a Hiken from a usual size player. Well, those are all the races I could think of. If you think I missed anything, make sure to comment down below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing to my channel. I hope you're having a great day, evening, whatever time it is where you're at, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bye guys.